Hello, 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 beautiful people. Here I am, Carla Armour, coming at you with a little bit more living Pilates. So here we are. Today I'm going to talk about the second principle, centering. And I love to talk about centering when we're doing our posture check in Pilates, which I like to think of as my Pilates posture, right? So whenever I start my clients in a class, I like to say, let's get our posture right to begin with. Okay, so first of all, we're going to stand with our feet hip distance apart. I like to stress, ladies and gentlemen, that you're talking about the hip joint as opposed to what people think is their hips. It's not your hips, that's your thighs. Okay, so we think about the hip joint here, and you can feel where your femur goes into your thigh, into your pelvis. That's the hip joint. So you want to get your second toes lining up with the hip joint. You're going to rise a few times onto the balls of the feet. And just work your way through the bones of the feet. Just gentle rises, just sort of waking up the calves and the ankles and the feet, getting the muscles of the feet working. Now if we identify the muscles of the feet are coming up into the lower leg, that's where all the muscles are coming from, into the feet. So it's really nice for us to get some stretching into the calves and into the feet so that we make sure that our feet stay healthy. Okay, so we're continuing up now. Once we've gotten our feet nice and flat, think about a point behind the big toe, behind the baby toe, and underneath the middle of the heel, right? Now from there, you will feel two little tripods. I want you to plant your feet, open your toes and plant all your 10 toes, your whole foot onto the mat, and just feel the lift of the arches by pressing, wanting to press your legs away from each other. I'm going to come a little closer for you to see the activity that's going on here. So when I do that and I press my legs away from each other, you can see what's going on with my thighs. Just gently, they get really active. You can see them relax and you can see them get active, right? So my thighs get active. My kneecaps get pulled up towards my thighs. And what then happens is I get a nice sensation of wrapping my thighs in, my bone into my pelvis, and getting a little connection here into the crease of the buttocks. And that just sort of gets a connection from the arches all the way up to the pelvis. So I'm going to do it sideways for you to see. Okay, so imagine I'm just standing here, and then I'm going to go press my legs away from each other. As I press away, you will see I get firmer in the glutes. And if you see what happens with my back as well, I relax it, note the back. As I press away, you connect into the crease of the bum. What's connecting there is a little bit into the pelvic floor. Now to continue that feeling, I'm going to zip across my hip joints, and that's just going to draw the pubis forward a little bit more to give me a more length into my back. And that's where I connect with my powerhouse, right? So here we go again. We are pressing the legs away. You can see the lift from here. Can you see this area? As you press your legs away, you lift, and you can see the pelvis slide forward. Imagine your pelvis is like a bucket of coins, and all the coins are staying inside. They're not falling out in front or falling out behind. You just want to get them nicely connected. So now I'm connected up to my powerhouse, that nice band across my hip bones, up to my belly button, across my hips, and I'm nicely firmly connected. Okay, so now we're going to do a little breathing. As we breathe into the ribs, as we breathe out, we deepen that connection, feeling that lift of the pelvic floor. Okay, so we're breathing in and breathing out, connecting into those obliques and feeling. Remember when I talk about the rib cage melting down, I'm breathing into my ribs. And as I exhale, I'm going to pull up and center. Like the skin is coming away from my clothing. And you can see, I hold my hands away. You can almost see my body get slimmer. And longer. So it's not a bracing where you pushing into your tummy and you're bracing and you pushing and forcing. It's a pulling, like as if you're coming to the core of your body. Centering is like coming to the core. So the core muscles ending at the diaphragm is just getting connected when we do that centering feeling. We inhale into the nose and into the lungs, which expand the ribs. And as we exhale, I feel my crown of my head shooting up, and I feel the pelvic floor lift all the way from the arches. I like to think of little ribbons spiraling up my thighs and then coming up to my sits bones, wrapping across, crisscrossing across my pelvis, crisscrossing across my waist, and then just tying a bow as I tie down my ribcage. And I pulling in, nice and firm, okay? So now what I'm going to add to that, which is a really nice exercise for you all to do, try. It seems like a simple exercise, and it's really an introduction and a warm-up for the mat classes. For most of the classes we teach, it's a roll down. So I'm going to work through the roll down now. Sorry for it to be a little bit longer video. And you're going to see the movement of breath and centering in action. Also all the principles of control and concentration and flow and precision. So first, I engage into the sits bones, into the crease of my bum. My arches are lifted, my thighs are engaged. I'm breathing into my lungs, ribs come apart. And as I start to exhale, I nod my chin down, so I lengthen, that long lengthened flowing movement, my crown of my head. Remember what I talked about when I talk about your chin placement. And I'm rolling through my spine. I'm not just crunching, I'm lifting up and over. I'm just going to be soft in my knees so that my tailbone can get a nice stretch. I'm drawing up the belly as hard as I can to stretch my back and really allow the shoulders to relax. Don't let them come towards your head. Just let the shoulder blades come away from each other. You inhaling into your back. And then as you exhale, you draw up the thighs. You draw into the crease of the bum. You drop the tailbone. You zip across the hip joints. You stack the spine, still pulling that across the sits bones, across the hip joints, and then your ribs stay melted down as the crown of the head reaches to the ceiling. You take a nice broad inhale. And as you exhale, you take it here this time. You're zipping up and you round up and over. Up and over. Can you see that? Really getting that length into my spine as much as I can, and just soften my knees, not actually bent, but just so that I can pull the tailbone back in place as opposed to letting it stick out. I want to pull, and it's all from here. It's a zip from here. So you really feel a lot of work into those abdominals when you do this movement. I'm breathing into my back and relaxing my head. Inhale and exhale to lift, lift, lifting from the abdominals. Notice my head is the last thing to come up. And my arms come to the sides of my thighs, so my shoulders are open, my eyes come to the horizon. I breathe in one more time. I nod my chin, I zipping up, really pulling through those abdominals. Get that nice length through the spine. Reaching it as long as you can. You don't have to get your hands to the floor. That's not the idea. That's not the prerequisite. The idea is to get length in the spine. Inhaling into the back, allowing the muscles to stretch, keeping the chin like as if you're on a ripe tomato, and keeping the spine lengthening. You've got to breathe into the ribs and let the ribs come open to the back. And as you're coming up, you're going to push the legs apart, zip into this crease of the bum, tailbone hangs down. I zip across my hip joints. I draw my belly button in. I stack my spine. My hands come to the side. Everything is stacked perfectly all the way up to the ceiling. All right, people. So I was coming a little closer so that you all could see better what I was doing. But just remember, okay, that if you have disc issues, back injuries where the doctor has told you not to do too many forward bends or deep flexion of the spine, especially the lumbar spine, obviously you have to be considerate of that and not do all of the exercise. But you can actually maybe stand against a wall and do part of the exercise so that you You can get length through the neck and length through the upper back if that's where you need it and that's where it's good for you. Always listen to your body. Never pain with Pilates. Okay? It should always feel like work, but beautiful, flowing, natural work that makes you feel large. It makes you feel in charge. It makes you feel in control. Remember, it's the art and science of contrology, as Mr. Pilates said. So you really want to feel in control of the movements when you're doing them. You're breathing and really feeling like you feel like a new person. I can assure you, just doing 3-4 roll downs like that, do your connections like we just did, your posture check, do your roll downs, and you just feel so fresh and good. So you can really do these in the morning, in the evenings, anytime really. Say for instance, you're waiting for the kettle to boil. It's a nice time to do that work with the glutes, with the bum, with the thighs, getting active in the pelvic floor. It's very healthy. Really, if you're having issues like with PMS or even with period cramps and stuff, just doing these gentle exercises, doing them a little bit more gentle than I was, just really helps to flush the toxins away from those areas. Sometimes, you know, you're going through issues with your lower back, just tension areas. This exercise is really, really nice. But once the doctor hasn't said anything and you haven't been diagnosed with like a ruptured disc or something, then we don't do that deep flexion. So I just want to be careful that maybe you have an issue, just do half, or do it sitting down in a chair, and you can do it just halfway. And so that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to put a little video together for you guys, maybe doing it on a chair, doing it holding on to something where you're just doing your upper back. Maybe you're sitting at your desk and you've been working for a long time and you just put your hands against your desk and you just sort of stretch out the neck and shoulders and then just releasing them back, and that could be a nice stretch for you as well. So that was our posture check, our Pilates posture check, working with centering, our second principle, and also the roll down, which is a nice warm-up exercise, so a nice finishing up exercise after your Pilates work, mat work or equipment work. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to try to write all that stuff down and leave it in a comment for you guys. Even if it's not there immediately, at least you can practice and I will write some more stuff. Send some questions if you have about what I've discussed. If you've done it differently before, if you feel it differently. Okay, let me know what you think. And yeah, I hope you really enjoy, because I'm really enjoying doing it and just sharing my Pilates journey with you. So until next time, stay beautiful, stay fit, stay strong, and stay flexible. Okay?